Welcome back to Twilight Gems. This is a follow up to the Tarocchi del Stel La Porta Celeste deck that I just showcased in my previous video. And after flipping through that beautiful vintage deck, I wanted to take a moment to actually sit with it and do a small reading. More than anything, this is part of my own process of learning the cards, not presenting myself as a master reader, but as someone who is genuinely spending time with the imagery, the symbolism, and building a relationship with the deck over time. So this reading is very much a practice moment, and I think that's part of what makes tarot interesting. It's something you grow with. The question I'm working with is, if I commit to working on my Twilight Gems and Mystic Treasures business every day, will it grow into something prosperous over time? And I've drawn 3 cards. The first card, 7 of Pentacles, and the word growth in the top left corner. The first card is the 7 of Pentacles, and this is a grounded starting point. This card speaks about long-term effort. It's not about quick results or instant payoff. It's about slow, steady development that builds over time. When this card appears, it suggests that what's being worked on does have potential, but it requires patience and it responds to consistency more than intensity. And that's very relevant because it sounds obvious. Yes, just work at it every day, and of course you're going to see results. But it's very personal to me because this is a legacy project, if you will, and it's heavy. There's a lot of memories. There's a lot of emotion attached to it. These precious treasures did belong to my mom, so I am very much filming a documentary as well as curating some really cool items, and the tarot collection is just the tip of the iceberg. So moving on to the second card, that's the 8 of Swords, and it says shame in the top left corner. The second card is the 8 of Swords, and this one speaks to the internal challenge in the situation. This card isn't really about outside obstacles. It's about feeling stuck in your own thoughts, feeling like you're not doing enough, or not moving enough, or not measuring up in some way. There can be a sense of pressure here, or comparison, or even self-doubt that creates a feeling of restriction. But the key message of this card is the limitation is not as fixed as it feels. The binds in this image are often mental or emotional, not actual barriers. So in the context of this reading, this card is showing that the main thing that could slow growth here is not the work itself, but how harshly you might judge the pace of your progress. It's a reminder to stay out of that freeze response and instead keep things simple and consistent. And that's very spot on because, yeah, there is an element of I'm not being productive enough. I should have, plowed through this collection by now and, had it all listed. And I've been really at a snail's pace, but I'm also grieving very hard, and it takes time and energy to do even the most basic things. So that 8 of Swords, yeah, that's very spot on. But I'm, that's all just fabricated in my mind. It's not true because every action I take is progress towards a prosperous goal. And the third card is the King of Cups, and it says generosity in the top left corner. The final card is the King of Cups, and this is a very strong closing energy. The King of Cups represents emotional balance, creative mastery, and a steady, grounded presence. In a business context, this is someone who builds trust over time, someone whose work carries emotional intelligence, depth, and a sense of authenticity. This is not a chaotic or rushed energy. It's calm, controlled, and sustainable. And in terms of outcome, this card suggests that if you continue with steady effort, what you're building can become something people genuinely connect with, something that has emotional resonance and longevity. There's also a sense of generosity here, not just in giving, but in the way your work naturally shares value, insight, and energy with others. Well, I certainly hope to have that effect and to achieve that. That's very accurate too at the tone I want to represent, and the kind of slowing down and paying attention in this short attention span world. Something a little more, you know, I think down to earth and human. And in closing, so when we put these three cards together, the message is quite clear. There is potential here for growth, but it is a slow and steady path rather than an instant one. The main challenge is staying out of self-doubt and pressure so that you don't block your own momentum. And the outcome energy is something stable, creative, and emotionally grounded, something that builds trust over time. This reading doesn't point to quick success, but it does point to something that can become meaningful and sustainable if it's nurtured consistently. And that completes this reading for today, June 10th, Wednesday, 2026 at about 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So I will archive this reading and check back in a few months to a year and compare notes. Yeah, let's look at this date next time this year and see how this reading played out. But it looks good to me, and I needed that reassurance because I'm by myself in this business, figuring it out, rogue style. But it's a labor of love, and it's for a good cause. And that concludes this edition of Twilight Gems.